Ever spent hours digging website trying to figure out if it offers exactly what you need? What if I told you there's a way you can automate this entire process in seconds? In this video, I'll show you how you can scrape websites using n8n to extract the exact information and insights you need. By the end of this video, you'll be able to create a workflow yourself that will save you time and energy whenever you need to analyze websites. Let's get started. We'll start our web scraping workflow by adding a chat trigger, and to it will integrate AI agent. Now this AI agent will use chat model which will be chat GPT or OpenAI chat model. And as you can see here, there are multiple types of agents available. There is tool agent, there is conversational agent, there is OpenAI function agent, plan and execute agent, and React agent, SQL agent. Now the best one for our workflow will be React agent. Why? Because this is good with reasoning. So if we ask questions like, I want companies which provide solutions of software development. So the URL which I'm providing, does that company fit that criteria, right? So that reasoning will be good if we use this React agent. And here we will add human message template, which will be input, and this will directly take input from the chat trigger. Next is, let's add a prefix message, answer the following questions as best as you can. You have access the following tools. Let's just leave this as it is, and we will add suffix message for chat model. Begin. Remind to always use the exact character's final answer when responding. This again is good enough. We can continue with it. And finally, suffix message for regular model. Begin. Question is this. Thought or the answer can be written down here. Right. So we'll leave this as it is. And now for tools, we will create a workflow tool. And for that, we'll add another trigger here. And we'll go with when called by another workflow. Right. So here we will build a workflow and it will be called from this tool, and I can use call n8n workflow tool. Let's name this web scraping, right? Here again, web scraping, and let's leave this as it is. Source will be database for sure, because we will be calling that workflow from our internal database or the website which we are using, not from any external website. And I'll go with IKEA web scraping, which is the name of this workflow. And there we go. So this two is connected now, and we can start building. Now there are multiple steps to follow for web scraping. First one is URL breakdown. Now the URL which we will have in our hand might not be as straightforward as www.google.com. It can have slashes, it can have paths in it. It can also have question marks and parameters, which can get very complex, right? So the first thing we will do is convert that string of the URL into something which is much more readable and formatted. We will convert it into an object where parameters and paths are managed as key value pairs. Next thing we will do is fetch HTML. Once we have the URL, readable URL ready, we'll use HTTP request method to fetch HTML of that entire page, which will have the entire information and text. Plus, it will also be in HTML format. So we might also need to do a few cleaning up, like removing unnecessary URLs. So if, for example, if there are images on the page, and if those images are left as is, it can confuse our extractor or maybe GPT. So it's better we just remove it or replace it with something blank, right? It will replace all the URLs. Also the additional tags like body tag, script tag, style tag, all those things, that are not required at all. We'll just need the texts and information, like there may be contact information or other things. So we'll clean up rest of the things. Finally, we will use Markdown to convert it, the simplest version of HTML, into text, pure text, and that we will feed to ChatGPT. So the first one is URL breakdown. Do that, I'll add edit field, and it will have a variable query, and here I will have to add the URL, right? And this will be an object. This will be converted into an object. So let's see how the code is to break down the URL. This is called bursting the URL. Now let's suppose we have URL like this, right? And this is one of the popular brand in my country. Here you can see there are multiple elements in the same URL. This is the basic URL of the company, and there are many more layers to it. So if what we really want to achieve is to convert this when fed into our system, it should be get converted into something like this. So which will separate all the different fields like URL, UTM medium, and UTM source and other things. So how do we achieve this? First thing we'll need to do is input our URL in a modified way. We need to ask GPT or the AI agent which we employed earlier to convert this into something more consistent, right? So you can see question mark here, and after that there is one pattern followed. Before that there is just URL, right? And after the question mark we have UTM medium, which equals to PPC, UTM source, which equals to Google. But before that we just have this blank URL. So we'll convert this into the same format as we are seeing afterwards, like URL equals to this. So for that we'll add this prompt here. So this will be our prompt for the AI agent. Call this tool to fetch a web page content. The input should be a stringified HTTP query parameter like this, right? So this will be at the start, and valid URL will be the base URL, which is the core or the at the crux. And there will be methods, selected method. URL parameter should contain the valid URL string. Method can be either full or simplified. If method is full, it will fetch the whole web page content in the markdown format, including page links and image links. If method is simplified, it will return the markdown content of the page but remove URLs and images, and also links from the page content for simplicity, right? So there are two methods we are give, giving the option for the user. First is to get the entire page of the URL and then summarize it, and second will be the simplified one, which will remove all the unnecessary part. So before calling this tool, think strategically which method to call. Best of all, to use simplified. However, if you anticipate that the page request is not final, or if you need to extract links from the page, pick method equals full. So we'll rely on the intelligence of this AI agent. I'll paste this in the prompt section, which is here. I'm sorry, here. I'll add it here. So the AI agent knows how to behave, and that's it. Let's move forward. We are adding edit fields here. I'll just paste that code here, which is this. So what this does is this will take URL variable, right, which has all the information, and it will first create or extract the substring of this. Okay, so substring will be after the question mark. So what how our URL would look like is question mark URL is this. Okay, so it will start taking all the information after the question mark. Essentially this, it will split the information with this ampersand sign, or wherever it sees the ampersand sign, it will just start breaking it. And finally it will have many different sections or parts of the entire URL, right? With it, it will reduce it basically into something which is like this, right? It will change it into an object format, which is this. So it will take the result variable, which will be blank initially, and for every item in that array of strings, it will take that item, split it between equals, right? So the left part becomes the key, right part becomes the value, and that's how it is fed in this. So I'll just paste this URL there on the workflow. Yeah. Make sure you turn on the expressions, and for that we'll use this. And the URL key is not defined, so which we will use json dot query, right? So the first part is ready, we'll name it structuring. Next we will call http request method, and here we'll pass the URL which we just created or structured, and I'll use $json dot query dot URL here, right? So this will give us all the information. Now make sure you use this or turn this on, ignore SSL issues, because there might be some URL which has SSL certificate installed and some might not. So make sure this is turned on, which will take care of it. And the next thing we can add is we can structure maybe or ask for a proper response. We do not want headers and status and unwanted information, and also never error. So don't output error. Try to give some information at least for us. And that's our HTTP request configured. Next, we will add check if there has been any error. If yeah, so if there were any error, we will just stop the workflow there itself, because there can always be an error. It's not that it will always work, it will always provide us information. So I'll add expressions here, and $json dot has own property. Yeah. So let's say if this is an error, and this should be a boolean, not a string. So this should be a boolean and is true, right? So if this is true, make sure we stop the workflow there itself, because it might crash our node or workflow altogether. And if it is false, we can continue forward. So that means we did not encounter any issues with all the things went perfectly well till now. And the next node we will add is edit filter, edit field, and here again we will add HTML. So this is what we will receive from the previous node, right? And it will be a string. So we'll add HTML, and inside it we can take $json dot data, right? So this will contain all the entire HTML of the page. Now, before we move forward, what we will do, we will remove the unnecessary URLs and maybe HTML tags and everything. And for that, the code we will use is this, which basically uses regex to extract information. So what we are doing here, we are checking all the body tags on our code or on our HTML script, and we'll only take information which is inside that body tag, right? So the body tag can have styles and maybe other things as well, maybe names. So we are using a small regex here, and whatever the script of the entire page is will fit inside this or maybe match with this regex. And here's how we end the tag, and this I'll just copy paste in our edit field right here. And also for the next step, we will remove the additional tags of HTML, right? And again we will use HTML. It will be a string again, and for the code we'll use expressions. And here's the code which we will use, right? So it is to remove tags, and we are taking information from the previous node which gave us information in HTML key. And if not, HTML body content for this such result is not available, right? So well, there can always be error at any step of the way, so we are just making sure user or the person sees something if the no entire workflow fails. And if not, if we did find information here, we'll just continue with it and we'll replace it with this thing, right? So this is the regex. We are first checking if there's a script tag, there's a style tag, we'll remove both of those. If there's a no script tag again, or maybe object, iframe, all those things. If there's a video, audio, there can be many more things, right? So we'll remove all the unnecessary tags using this. I'll just copy paste it there. Yeah. So don't worry, I'll provide this in a document for all of you to access. You can check this code, you can use this code in your workflow. We are nearing the end now, and if you remember, we discussed there are two ways of or two methods of extracting URL. One is simplified, other is full, right? So will you check which one did the GPT suggest us, and for that we'll use string and compare it contains, right? Simply file something, right? And here dollar JSON, or maybe we can directly extract data from this structuring. Will directly pull data from there, and for that dollar structuring, right? Dot first and JSON query and method, right? So if the method is full, we'll go one way. If not, will go another way. If it is simplified, this will be true. Okay. And if it is simplified, we'll need to extract URLs, right? So for that, I'll use edit field, nothing much. And if not, we'll go with markdown. So there is this amazing tool right here, or node right here, which will help us convert HTML into something readable by GPT, or something which is more compressed and makes more sense, right? So I'll again put HTML here, and for the code, we'll use regex again, and the one we will use is this. So this is for simplifying output, and it will receive data from the previous HTML. It will replace hrefs references. It will remove. It will also remove sources, and maybe if there is any image there, it will change it to no img, right? So that's how it will simplify. It will reduce the code by a big margin for some pages with lots of images, right? So make sure you copy this and paste it there, and this will be the document I provide. I'll provide the Google link document. And for the markdown, we will take the data from the previous node, which is dollar JSON and right HTML. Make sure you use the same name, or continue with the same variable name which you did till here, because this might directly return data to the markdown, and it might go through this route as well. So both should have the same variable name, or it might break here. And that's it. We have our data ready, and I'll just use something more specific than data, which is page content, right? And I'll follow with the same name here, page content, right? And finally, we have the data with us. So I'll just add expressions, $json dot page content, and there we go, right? So this is it. Now let's test this workflow. I've copied the URL. I'll paste it here, and it's the complex one. Let's see how our workflow processes it, and it's running. Okay. So here we go. It has given us two. So it first one for the base workflow, and second one for the tool. And here we got through the first one. It extracted all the fields, the URL to page medium, page source, or UTM source, everything. It then extracted the HTML of the page with all the information, schedule a demo, that remarkable. All right. Next thing is edit fields. So again, we reduce this down. It was starting with doc type HTML and head and all those things. We reduced it to start with no script iframe, right? That's what our regex code did. And finally, we again removed the unnecessary parts. HTML content for the search is not all right. So we removed the unnecessary parts further, like script style and all those things. Now it has much refined or filtered code of mostly text with uh, tags containing the text, right? Finally, we will check if it is simplified method or the full method, and I think it went with the full method. That's why it's in the false branch. And the HTML markdown processed it perfectly and gave us the detailed texts, optimizing, unleashing the winning strategy in real time, and maybe something about their services as well. It gives omni-channel engagement, signal to call, shaping cross-channel marketing, product ecosystem. So that was all about the website which I added. But do tell us how it processes the content of your website. And finally, we have this. We just returned it in a proper format. You can use this workflow with your set of URLs and see for yourself how well it can gather and provide information of the web pages. If you're a business looking for clients, you can provide it list of URLs which you found on Google, and this workflow will maybe loop through all those URLs and see the client requires a service that you provide with the help of the intelligence of the AI agent. And that's it about this tutorial. If you learned something new, do give us a like, subscribe to our channel for more such videos, and also mention in the comments if you have any suggestions for any workflows which you would like to see us build, and maybe we can build together. And see you in the next video.